What's going on, Vikings fans? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, we have our official Week 14 preview as the Minnesota Vikings host Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons. But before we dive into that, guys, if you guys want the Vikes to move to 11-2 on the season and beat the Falcons this weekend and get that revenge on Kirk Cousins, give me a SKOL down below in the comment section. Light it up, make it look like US Bank Stadium on game day, and type those SKOLs down below. So topics discussed on today's show. We do have some major injury news, specifically around Stephon Gilmore. We're going to be deep diving into the Atlanta Falcons. What has really gone wrong so far this season down there in Atlanta? And then my keys to victory and my score prediction. Let's dive into the injury news here. So Alec Lewis, beat reporter for The Athletic with the Minnesota Vikings, said Stephon Gilmore has a low-grade hamstring injury, and he's getting evaluated throughout the week. But Kevin O'Connell says he doesn't believe it's a long-term injury. He also followed up to say that it is doubtful he will play this weekend. So we saw Fabian Moreau step up in his place. Could it be Moreau? Could it be Dwight McGlothern, UDFA from Arkansas? We'll see how they play that, but most likely no Gilmore this week. But good news, he did avoid major injury. But some good news for Vikings fans. Tight end Josh Oliver should be returning to the lineup this week. The Vikings played it safe last week. Apparently, if it was a playoff game, he could have been able to go, but they just wanted to play it safe. So having one of the best run-blocking tight ends in the league back will absolutely be massive for this team. And then also the special team should get a boost this weekend. Will Reichard and Andrew DePaula, their practice windows will be open, and they're both supposed to be ready to go this weekend. So first off, I do want to give a massive shout-out to John Parker-Romo. He stepped in great for the Minnesota Vikings. And then also Jake McQuaid, long snapper. Like, they really had no issues on special teams. Yes, there was one missed field goal, one missed extra point, but throughout 4 games, I'll take that for a kicker and a long snapper stepping in. So shout-out to those guys for holding it down. But let's deep dive into the Atlanta Falcons. Kirk Cousins' new team riding into the bank this weekend. I'm fired up about it, and the Falcons are coming into this game a little on the downhill. They're trending downwards right now. They had their bye week in Week 12, following an embarrassing loss in Week 11 to the Denver Broncos, 38-6, and then this past week, Kirk Cousins was the biggest reason why they lost to the Los Angeles Chargers, losing 17-13. He threw 4 picks in that game, but they were rolling up until Week 10. They were 6-3, coming off big win versus the Cowboys and their division rival, the Buccaneers. And then it was 3 straight losses. And now the NFC South, it's a tight race. So this is going to be a team who's probably going to view this as a must-win. And I'm sure Kirk Cousins is viewing this game as possibly his last chance to keep his starting spot for the rest of the year, because there already are conversations down there in Atlanta. Should it be Michael Penix? Should it be Kirk Cousins? I think they'll still roll with Kirk this weekend. But if he has another bad game, we could be seeing the QB out of Washington starting for the Falcons. So let's start off with offensively for Atlanta. So how do they rank out? Just the raw numbers so far this season. They're 8th in yards per game, 4th in pass yards. They are only 14th in rush yards per game, but they have 2 really good backs that we'll talk about here in a second. Then points per game. They're 19th in the league, third down percentage, 23rd. I think a big reason for that is just because Kirk Cousins, again, not the most mobile guy. If you bring pressure on him on these third and long situations, it's either he finds his hot route or he just really can't get anything done. So that's how they shake out offensively. And then also for the Falcons defensively here, they're a middle-of-the-pack group to honestly below average, like ranking 17th in yards, 22nd in points per game. They're actually one of the worst third down defenses in the entire National Football League. So I think the Vikings offense could have a big day, but defensively for Minnesota, it's going to start with stopping the run. Now, last week, the Arizona Cardinals, they were able to get downhill on this group, running for over 150 yards, one of only 4 teams to rush for over 100 yards total versus the Vikings this year. And they're led by Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. Bijan obviously being the more dual threat back with 51 receptions, just under 400 yards on the year. And he is a very talented running back. He was, a big reason why he was drafted in the top 10 was just because of his natural talent. And then also their backup, Tyler Algier, he should probably be a starting running back on just about almost any other team in the National Football League. But why is the Falcons offense not lived up to that expectation? Well, it's because of our guy, Kirk Cousins. His stats this year, I think, tell the story perfectly. He's not the most mobile guy anymore. He doesn't take care of the football as well as he did when he was with the Minnesota Vikings, and he has 13 interceptions in just 12 games so far this season. He has definitely taken that step back from what we saw in Minnesota, and I showed you guys this yesterday on the show. Sam Darnold just having a better year than him. He looks like the better quarterback. He's younger. He's more athletic. He is more explosive. And Darnold, I actually saw a stat today, 45 throws of 20-plus yards this season in the NFL. That is actually first in the entire league. So he has the big playability. He's cleaned up the turnovers over the last 3 weeks, having 0. And just my overall take on Kirk, this is not the same guy we saw in Minnesota. Now, I thought Kirk was great when he was with the Vikings. He led them to 13 wins in 2022, and obviously last year tearing his Achilles. Right before that injury happened, the Vikings were really trending upwards, but unfortunately, Kirk, just an unfortunate injury happened. But this guy, he looks beat up. He's not the same guy. He's not as mobile as he once was. So I think this defense, they should have a field day, and overall I'm feeling confident about a victory this weekend. But kick it to the defense for Atlanta. Now, we just showed you guys the raw numbers. They don't rank out too highly compared to the rest of the teams in the NFL, but they got some good players like Grady Jarrett, good defensive lineman, A.J. Terrell, a solid corner, and then they got 2 good safeties in Justin Simmons, Jesse Bates. They also have one good edge rusher in Matthew Judon. But the biggest kicker with the Falcons, they have no pass rush. They only have 15 sacks, just 15 sacks total in the National Football League. That is last, and the Panthers, who are second to last in the league, have 21. So Darnold should have a clean pocket, and it gets me to this. I expect the Vikings offense to put on a show on Sunday. I still feel like they haven't had a great full 4 quarters offensively yet this season. Maybe you could say that Texans game back in week 3, but I expect them to put up 30-plus points, be very aggressive, don't turn the ball over, and we should be celebrating what would be a 6th straight victory Monday here on the channel. But I got to ask you guys this, and I'll make this a pinned comment on today's show. Will you cheer or boo for Kirk Cousins? Give me a C for cheer or a B for boo. I don't know if I have an answer for you guys just yet. I'm probably going to have to wait to see how I feel when I wake up this Sunday. But you guys let me know. This will be the pinned comment. Let me know your thoughts on if you would cheer or boo Kirk Cousins. Now, coming up next here on the show, I got my 5 keys to victory and my score prediction. But first, I got to give a massive shout-out to today's sponsor. And it's one of my favorite sponsors we have here at Vikings Now, and that is Public Rec. And if you guys head to publicrec.com/chat, you guys will get 20% off when you use code chat20 at checkout. That's 20% off with the code chat20 at publicrec.com. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. And say goodbye to pants that put up a fight, because when comfort meets style, you have found Public Rec. And I'm actually rocking one of their sweatshirts right now. It is super, super comfortable. I got off work yesterday, and my girlfriend was giving me all types of compliments on this. So if you guys want to get your dad, your older brother, your cousin a sweet Christmas gift for the holidays, I say you hit up Public Rec. So check them out today. And if you guys use promo code chat20, you guys will get 20% off your order, again, with promo code chat20 at publicrec.com/chat20. I'll have that link for you guys in the comments section and description of today's show. So give the gift of comfort to yourself or someone you love this holiday season with Public Rec. And for a limited time, you can get 20% off your entire order with code chat20 at publicrec.com. That's 20% off when you use promo code chat20 at publicrec.com. So number 1 key to victory for me is bring the heat. We just talked about that Kirk Cousins is not the same guy that he once was. Like, he wasn't a mobile quarterback with the Minnesota Vikings, but he's even less of a mobile quarterback with the Atlanta Falcons. Just straight up, he's 36 years old, coming off a torn Achilles. So number 1, bring the heat, and I want Brian Flores to let the dogs loose this weekend. And I think the Vikings, I think it's pretty undisputed. You got the best trio of pass rushers in the National Football League. I mean, Jonathan Grenard, 10 sacks on the year, 13 TFLs. Van Ginkel's been fantastic with 14 TFLs, 9.5 sacks. And then Patrick Jones II, a little bit of a breakout year for the man from Pittsburgh, 7 sacks as well. He has been awesome. And then we also saw Dallas Turner step in last week and be very effective. So I want the edge rushers to really get after it this weekend, and I fully expect Brian Flores this week, I think we could see his highest blitz percentage on the entire season against Kirk Cousins and this offense. And number 2 for me, I'm going to go dominate the trenches. Now, my biggest gripe with Kevin O'Connell, if I have to have one over the last 3 seasons, is we have been too much of a finesse football team and not a physical football team. And, I think a lot of that was with the offensive line not being as good in years past. But this year, even without Christian Darrisaw, you have a solid group. Like, you don't really have a glaring weakness on this offensive line anymore. You would always say the interior, but they've honestly played really good football over the last couple of weeks. And Cam Robinson coming off his best game as a Minnesota Viking, and we know what Brian O'Neill does at that right tackle position. I want the Vikes to get downhill because when January, December, when real physical football rolls around, you got to have some sort of a run game. And the Vikings this season just don't have it. Only averaging 4 yards per carry, only 6 touchdowns in their longest rush of only 41 yards. So, number 2, dominate the trenches. And number 3 for me, the good Sam Darnold. Now, we have seen it. He went through that stretch against, the Colts, the Jags, where he wasn't playing good football. But over the last 3 weeks, this man has been fantastic. And the advanced stats for Darnold are awesome, man. He's got 25 big-time throws on the season, ends up being 6.4% of total throws. Turnover-worthy play percentage is only at 4. This was at 5 a couple weeks ago, so that's going down. And his adjusted completion percentage at 78.5. And I do want to highlight a throw against the Arizona Cardinals. Now, this was, in my opinion, one of his best throws as a Minnesota Viking. So it's simple. He's in the gun, running back to the right of him. He's got Jefferson one-on-one at the top of your screen. Jefferson then breaks off the line of scrimmage here. You see it. This is right after he caught the football, and you got 3 Cardinals defenders around him. But if you guys go to the next angle here, this was a hell of a throw by Sam Darnold. I mean, this is a tight window throw. He stood strong in the pocket, had an edge rusher on his blind side, and he just stood in there and made a big-time throw. And you also had to throw to Addison. That was layered beautifully. But, overall with Darnold, I just think he's playing some of the best football that he has ever played. Now, I thought he was playing some of his best football during the first 5 weeks. He even looks better over the last 3. So if that continues, again, the Vikings should be set up for success this Sunday. And, number 4, we always say it here with Kevin O'Connell. I think the stat now is they are 24-3 when they win or tie the turnover battle under KOC. So if you just play clean football, no fumbles from Aaron Jones this weekend. And again, you should be set up for success. Now, my last one, kind of a little rah-rah speech for the fellas here. You got to have a sense of urgency in this game because the Lions, if you just look up the Lions injury report on Google, heading into this Thursday night game versus the Packers, they are beat up specifically defensively. They actually just signed Jamal Adams to have some help in the secondary because they're beat up. But if you're the Vikings, you're looking at the Lions' next 4 games before they play each other, Week 18. All of these are losable. They could lose to the Packers. They could lose definitely to the Bills. Even in Chicago against Caleb Williams and the Bears, that's not a kind of a rollover game. And then even though the Niners, they're beat up, no McCaffrey, no Mason for the rest of the year, they could drop that game on Monday Night Football. So if they just lose one of these 4 games, the Vikings win out, and then they beat them Week 18, you got a chance at the number 1 seed. So every game from here on out has to be a must-win for our favorite football team. But hey, if you guys made it to the end, we'll use this as a real one roll call. Just give me a SKOL down below in the comment section. Light it up for me. Make it look like US Bank Stadium on game day with Kirk Cousins rolling to town this weekend. I can't wait. Also, I'm on Twitter at Pat Sieps. If you guys want to give me a follow over there, I'll give you guys a follow right back. But thank you guys so much for watching. As always, SKOL Vikes.